Hello everybody, I am Dr. Annubhai Soni from DP Pura Law College Bilaspur, again with you to continue the discussion over extraterritorial operation of the Indian Penal Code according to Section 3 and Section 4 of the Indian Penal Code. During our last meeting, kindly remember, we were talking about the intra-territorial operation of the Indian Penal Code under Section 2 of the same code. And I told you people that the Section 3 and Section 4 of this code are concerned with the extraterritorial operation of the Indian Penal Code. What is the extraterritorial operation of the code? And how these sections are applicable? What are the provisions regarding the extraterritorial operation of the code is now we have to discuss. Section 3 and Section 4. The Section 4 has three subsections. 4A, 4A, Section 4, 1, 4, 2 and 4, 3 also. And Section 187, 188 and 189 of the Criminal Procedure Code and certain provisions of the Extradition Act 1962. These are all sections and provisions are relevant to have a crystal clear, doubtless view and vision regarding the extraterritorial operation of the Indian Penal Code. Let us try to understand one by one. According to my opinion, these all sections, Section 3 and 4 of Indian Penal Code, Section 187, 188, 189 of the Criminal Procedure Code and provisions of the Extradition Act 1962. These all sections must be studied together. Then we will be able to come into the conclusion regarding the extraterritorial operation of the code. Now what Section 3 says. Very important. Now, making discussion over the concept of the Section 3, it will be better for us to read the framing, the fabrication of the sentence word by word of the Section 3. What the Section 3 says. Any person liable under any Indian law to be tried for an offence, committed beyond the territory of India or outside of the India shall be dealt according to the provisions of the code. According to the provisions of the code, I mean to say the Indian Penal Code, for an act committed beyond the territory of India, in the same manner as it had been committed within India. This is the framing of the sentence, fabrication of the section of the Indian Penal Code, the Section 3. Very important words have been used in this section. Under Section 2, finally remember, the word every person has been used. When we were talking during our last meeting, I have mentioned that the word every person has been used specifically under Section 2 of the Indian Penal Code to interpret the intra-territorial operation of the court. But kindly pay attention here that under section 3, the word any person has been used. Not every person. Any person means, in the context of this particular section 3, any person means the citizen of India. The citizen of India. The section 3 is entirely based on the citizenship on the Indian citizenship. It is a first important component necessary for the application of section 3. That offender must be Indian citizen. An Indian citizen has committed any offense beyond the territory of India, then he shall be dealt according to the provisions of Indian Penal Code. If he is found in India. For example, an Indian citizen committed murder in Indonesia. An Indian citizen committed murder in Indonesia at certain place of Jakarta. If he is found in India, then he may be tried under the provisions of Indian Penal Code. The principle behind the section 3 is based upon this contention that the sovereign state, the country, the government has power to regulate the conduct of its citizen, not only inside the territory of India, but the outside the territory of India also. Outside the territory of India too. If you commit any offense, if you commit any act which is offense according to the Indian law, the Indian Penal Code also. However, it is committed outside of the territory of India, you may be tried by the Indian Criminal Code because you are an Indian citizen. The government of India, sovereign state has power to regulate your conduct, power to make you responsible for the offense committed outside of the Indian territory. Only condition that the offender must be citizen of India. If the foreigner commits any offense outside of the territory of India, then the section 3 will not be applicable. Because he is not an Indian citizen, he is a foreigner. And he committed offense outside of the territory of India. So he is beyond the control, beyond the jurisdiction of Indian criminal courts. The Indian criminal courts had no jurisdiction in such type of the cases. Right? One more important thing is, which is nicely discussed in the case of Fatima Bibi Ahmed Patel versus State of Gujarat, that at the time of commission of the offence outside the territory of India, the offender must be the citizen of India. If he is a foreigner, then then this section will not be applicable. Even then, he acquires the citizenship of India later on. It's not significant. At the time of committing offense, if he was foreigner, if he did not have the citizenship of India, the section 3 will not be applicable. The ambit of the section 3 is that at the time of committing offense, at the time of commission of the offense, the offender must be citizen of India, and the offense is committed outside the territory of India. then the section 3 shall be applicable under the concept of the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the Indian Criminal Code or Indian Penal Code also. Okay. One more example to have a clear view regarding this section. Suppose, for example, one Indian citizen committed murder at Sri Lanka, somewhere at Colombo, and absconded. He is found in India. The Indian court, the Indian government has two options now. Number one, the offender, the Indian citizen who has committed the offence at Sri Lanka, Colombo, the Indian government has two options. Number one, the offender must be given up to the Sri Lankan government for trial according to the Sri Lankan criminal law. And if any problem regarding the treaties, regarding the extradition Act 1962, if there is any problem regarding the extradition of that offender, then the government, the Administration of Criminal Justice of India, can exercise the extraterritorial operation of this court, and the offender may be prosecuted according to the provisions of the Indian Penal Code. Okay. One more significant thing is also I want to bring in the notice that if an Indian citizen commit any act or any offence outside the territory of India, but the act, whatever he has committed, is not offence according to the law of that state where it is committed, but it is offence according to the Indian law, according to the Indian Penal Code, but it is not offence according to the law of that state, that country where it is committed, where it is happened. Then what will be seen? Very clear. If the offender is Indian citizen, if he is found in India, he shall be tried according to the Indian Penal Code. Because whatever he has committed in other country is offence in the eye of Indian law, in the eye of Indian Penal Code. However, the act is not treated as an offence by that country where it is happened, where it is committed. For example, under section 497 of the Indian Penal Code, the adultery is designated, adultery is defined, adultery is provided as an offence. It is an offence against the matrimonial right. But in England, adultery is not an offence. It is just a civil wrong. Now, an Indian citizen committed adultery in England, a certain place of England. And in England, it is not an offence. But according to the section 3, since it is offence in India, under section 494 and under section 497 of the Indian Penal Code, it is offence. Then the Indian court has extrajudicial operation of the court. Indian court has power that he may take cognizance against the offender, he may prosecute him. However, whatever he has committed is not treated as an offense in England. As I told you that adultery is not offense in England, but it is offense in India. And if someone is an Indian citizen committed this offense in England, he cannot say that since it is not offense in England, so I am not offender. No, he will not be allowed to say like this. But one thing is also important to bring a notice that one decision taken by the Honorable Supreme Court during September 218, headed by CJI Honorable Mr. Deepak Misra, in the case, in the PIL filed by one Mr. Joseph Saini of the Kerala, challenging the validity and constitutionality of the Section 497, the Supreme Court held that the Section 497 is unconstitutional. It must be removed from the Indian Penal Code because it violates the Article 19, Article 21 given by the Constitution. It appears if we treat the adultery as an offense, it shows that the married woman is the property of the husband. She is like a slave. So the Supreme Court held, no, it is a violation, it is a clear-cut violation of Article 19 and Article 21. So now the Supreme Court has declared it unconstitutional. So now adultery is no longer offense in India also. For example, I have explained it. Now number third. The section 188 of the CRPC has a similar provision. It says that any offence has been committed by Indian citizen outside the territory of the India, he may be tried, he shall be tried according to the Indian Penal Code, according to the provisions of Indian Penal Code, if he is found inside the territory of India. It is a procedural matter. It is a procedural matter. One more example will make my point clear. You must know that under Section 494, the bigamy is an offence. Bigamy is an offence. And according to Section 494, a Hindu male cannot marry again if his wife is living, if he has not taken a divorce. He cannot marry again. It is a bigamy. One Indian citizen, after marriage, leaving his wife and 2 children, went to USA for further studies, and he arranged marriage with an American girl. Since he is an Indian citizen, and according to the Indian Penal Code, under Section 494, a Hindu male cannot marry again without taking divorce from his wife or without dissolution of his marriage. So, if he is found in India, he may be tried by the Indian Criminal Code according to the provisions of the Section 494 of Indian Penal Code. It is very clear that Section 3 of the Indian Penal Code is entirely based upon the citizenship of India. It is entirely based on the citizenship of the India. And an Indian citizen commit any offence outside the territory of India, then he will be prosecuted according to the provisions of the Indian law, the Indian Penal Code, if he is found in India. One more thing is also important to inform you, that one very important case of Jugal Kishore More versus State of Bengal, the Supreme Court held that if a Indian citizen has committed any offence outside of the territory of India, then the local police can also start the investigation against him. The local police cannot refuse the complaint that the matter, that the offence has been committed. Since the offence has been committed outside of India, so we are not empowered, we are not capable, we are not eligible to start the investigation or to lodge the FIR against him. No. If the offence is committed by Indian citizen outside of territory of India and it is found in India, then the local police can start the investigation, can lodge the FIR against him, even without prior sanction of the central government. It is also held by the one Sajid K, Muhammad Sajid K versus the state of Kerala. So this is the contents, this is the interpretation, this is the element, this is the gist of the section 3 regarding the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the extraterritorial operation of the Indian Penal Code. Now, let us talk about the section 4. Section 4 has not different concept, not different provision. It is just a expansion of the ambit of the application of the section 3. You may say that it is the extension of the provision of the section 3. Whatever section 3 says, it is an extension, it is an elaboration, it is an explanation, it is an extension, it is expansion of the contents of the section 3. What the section 4 says? Section 4 says that, what is the framing of the sentence of the section 4? The provisions of the Indian Penal Code, shall be applicable if the offence has been committed. If the offence has been committed, number one, by an Indian citizen in any place without and beyond the India. By any Indian citizen in any place without and beyond the India. Number second, by any person, not Indian citizen, by any person. By any person on ship or in aircraft registered in India, wherever it may be. Wherever it may be. The ship, aircraft, both are, if they are registered in India, they are treated as a part of the territory of the India. Then the section 4 and subsection 2, what says? Any person on any ship or any aircraft, aeroplane, which are registered in India, wherever they may be. And number third, the subsection 3 of the section 4, that by any person, not any citizen, but by any person, in any place, without or beyond the India, committing any offense or wrongful act, targeting the computer resources located in India. The subsection 3 of the section 4 is entirely related with the computer crime, computer generated crime. You may say it's a cyber crime also. But the subsection 1 and subsection 2 are very important. Let us try to understand one by one. What does section 4 says? I'm repeating again. I'm repeating the matter. Repeating the framing of the sentence of section 4. The provisions of the Indian Penal Code shall be applicable if the offence has been committed by number 1, subsection 1 of the 4, by any Indian citizen. By any Indian citizen in any place without and beyond the India. It is just a explanation, just an extension of the section 3. If any offence has been committed by any citizen beyond the India, out of the territory of the India, then he may be tried under the provisions of the Indian Penal Code. Okay? So it is an expansion, it is an explanation, it is an extension of the section 3 of the Indian Penal Code. Number second, the section 4, subsection 2 is also very important. What it says? It says, any person, means not any citizen of India, not being citizen of India, any person. This word any person indicates to the foreigner. If any foreigner who is not citizen of the India commit any offense on the ship or in the aeroplane or aircraft which are registered in India, wherever they may be, then he may be tried. He can be tried, he shall be tried by the Indian Criminal Court. Because the ship is treated as a floating island of the country, which flag they fly. Suppose a ship, for example, a ship is floating on high sea, having the flag of India, then it is accepted fact that the ship is a part of the territory of the India. Because ship is registered in India, ship is flying the flag of India, so it is like a floating island of the Indian territory of the India. It is a part of the Indian territory. And if any foreigner commit any offense on that ship, then such foreigner shall be prosecuted, shall be tried by the Indian court. By the Indian court. The similar thing is applicable with the aeroplane. If the aeroplane is registered in India, and if someone has committed any offense inside the aeroplane, the offender will be prosecuted, offender will be tried by the Indian Criminal Court according to the Indian criminal law. And it doesn't matter at the time of the commission of the offense where the ship is harbored, where the ship is lodged, in which port the ship is harbored, or in which port the ship is lodged, in which airport of the country or state the aeroplane is landed or was landed, doesn't matter. If the Indian aeroplane or aircraft which is registered in India is landed on the Heathrow Airport of the London, and on this aeroplane, inside of this aeroplane, if any offence has been committed by foreigners, then the foreigners will be treated as an offender by the Indian criminal law. He may be prosecuted if he is found, if he is arrested and brought to the Indian judiciary. Okay. Now the third and last important thing of the section 4, that if any foreigner, not Indian citizen, commit any wrongful act regarding the computer generated crime, the cyber crime, targeting the computer resources located in India, then such offender shall be tried by the Indian Criminal Code under extraterritorial jurisdiction of the Code, extraterritorial operation of the Indian Penal Code. Now the section, you have observed that the section 3 and 4, both the section must be read together. So we can have a crystal clear view, doubtless view, regarding the extraterritorial operation of the Indian Penal Code. One more thing is also important to bring your notice. That what is the meaning of the Indian law used in section 3? Don't be confused. Indian law means it is restricted, the meaning is restricted to the cases, to the offences specified under Indian Extradition Act and under section 188, 189 of the CRPC. The word offence has also been interpreted under section 4 and under section 188 of the CRPC. That offence means the provision, offence means the act or omission prohibited or contrary to the the provisions of the Indian Penal Code. So today we have discussed well the section 3 and section 4 is extraterritorial operation of the Indian Penal Code. I think that the discussion is much sufficient. In our next meeting, I have a plan that we have to start the discussion over very code, that is section 34. The principle of constructive joint liability. It is general principles of the criminal law adopted by the most of the criminal laws of the world. But under the Indian Penal Code, the section 34 and 149, through the section 34 and 149, the law of crime of India has adopted the principle of constructive joint liability. What is this? Very important, very interesting topic. And since today in this video session we don't have much time, so we will start this very important topic considering the section 34 and 149 to discuss over the principle of constructive joint liability in our next meeting. Thank you so much for patience hearing.